Welcome back to Hot Takes and Deep Dives, and I am here with my king, Ben Rimalower.
Queen.
We are a little worse for the wear.
Yeah.
We barely got any sleep last night.
Truly.
Now, we saw the opening night at Barclays in Brooklyn. I think what we saw will be the most exciting night, maybe of the entire tour, with the exception of opening night in London, because this is the first show in the U.S. We've actually been recording for 45 minutes already, and we haven't even gotten to the concert. So Ben just did a soliloquy that I'm going to put at the...
I don't like when you call it a soliloquy, you know.
What was it?
It was an answer to your question.
It was a monologue. No, but in the best way. It was the Rimalower special.
I don't feel safe.
So now we're going to get into the... I'm going to piece together this episode. So we have the lead up to the concert.
I know what piece together means. They pieced together Patti LuPone's role in Witness.
When we arrived at dinner, you were already spinning out. You, in fact, said that you don't even know if you're going to be able to make it to the concert.
No, first I was doing good. Before you got there, I was making a chart of all the 14 Stephen Sondheim musicals and the 14 Madonna albums and trying to figure out which aligned with which. I just felt really strongly that Ray of Light was a reset, like Sunday in the Park with George, but it got a little hairy in the weeds beyond that, and then you arrived. But then when my CBD hit, I was like starting to get scared.
You threatened to leave?
That was not a threat. I was just being honest. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen to me. Barclays seems scary. I feel like we're going to like a basketball game. This is like not my scene.
We were very courtside at the Knicks.
Honestly, we were so courtside it like wasn't scary. It felt like we were like at like a small cabaret performance. You know, she was so fucking close.
It did feel like we were a little at Joe's Pub, right?
Yeah, it was very Joe's Pub like.
Okay, so we get into the Barclays Center. We take a look at all the merch. All I wanted was the Blonde Ambition bomber jacket, which apparently have been on sale since midnight, and they were sold out. So I didn't get the one thing I wanted. Fine. I can pay $300 another time for something I'll wear once. We were fighting the whole time about what time to arrive. You wanted to get there at like 8 o'clock.
Well, Jess was acting like it didn't matter what time we got there. No matter how late we arrived, there would be a several-hour wait for Madonna to go on. And I was like, are you really confident? Because, like, I'm fine with that if you're really confident, but I'll be really sad if we get there and not only miss...
Ben thought we were
Madonna.
gonna walk in and she would be halfway through Vogue.
Well, no, but I thought we were gonna like maybe like miss like Bob the drag queen like opening for her. I didn't realize that Bob was like actually like just kind of, as Jess then explained, like in the show.
I told you that
really
multiple
opening.
times.
Well, you didn't say it flat out from the beginning. It was like a sort of slow dribble of information. Also, I just wasn't like, you weren't saying to me, Ben, I promise you I would never miss the opening of the show.
I said to you, I asked you if I have ever steered you wrong.
Well, this was the first time you ever steered me at all.
Is that true?
Yeah. I never let you drive. In that way, I'm like a Jewish wife top, you know?
I guess in this relationship you are. It's very like, you're coming to me.
Yeah.
We finally get to our seats. We go inside around 9 o'clock. What did you feel about the seats?
I guess you had told me we were going to be front row. Somehow in my mind, I knew we were like close, but I sort of thought maybe we were like third row or something.
Here is my advice for anybody going to any concert, specifically this one, but any concert. I don't believe in the floor, and I don't believe being the front row of the actual concert all the way at the front. I think you should be front row of a section.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the show. Like, I was in the, like, on the floor, like, maybe, like, fourth row at Barbra Streisand at Barclays for the music, the memories, the magic. And, you know, it wasn't this kind of show with, like, all this, like, staging and dancers and everything.
For anybody who's looking at the seat map to sort of visualize where we were section 24 front row. And it's important for me to be front row because, like, I'm small. I can't, like, see over these, like, 10-foot giants. Like, if I'm leaving the house, I want to be there. Let's talk about all the liquids you consumed.
Hardly any.
I gotta go up in the middle to get you a liquid.
You were peeing and I said, bring me a Diet Pepsi. Just bullshit. You can't bring a clothes. I would have bought 20 seltzers or, you know, Pellegrinos, but you have to take the cap off when you buy it. And
that's not new.
That's why I hate these fucking places. Like, I want to spend at Radio City. Like, I don't need to be at a goddamn arena. That might be my last arena show. I don't need to be with, like, 18,000 people in a space. What do I want to be with those people for?
I don't disagree. I talked to a security guard as I was getting up to get you one of your Diet Pepsis.
My only Diet Pepsi.
She was supposed to go on.
I consumed 3 beverages in the entire 3 hours we were there. I was practically dying of thirst.
So it's now about 10:30, and I walk over to the security guard. I say, what time is she coming on? And she said she was supposed to come on at 10. It was supposed to go from 10 to 12:15. She went on.
From 12:15 to 4.
She hit the stage at 10:45.
Yeah.
And it ended at 1 on the nose.
By the way, people know this because literally the number one DM I have gotten from random ass people for the last 10 hours has been what time did she go on? What time did she go on? What time did she go on?
Guess what temperature the room had to be at? Per the security guard, she needs the room at this degree. Well, we know Patty needed the ice palace to be at 68 degrees.
Okay.
What temperature do you think Madonna needed it at?
I don't know, 69.
76.
Really?
That's why it was so warm in there.
Yeah, it was pretty warm. I was fine once I took my sweatshirt off.
Thank God it was the winter. You had a theory. Oh, no, I said, what is with the waiting? Why can't she just come on at even 9 o'clock?
Well, so Madonna is a full-ass adult. She's had all the wisdom teeth. She's passed all the Saturn returns. Madonna knows everything she's probably going to learn in this life. That's whatever. We're all always learning. But most of the wisdom of Madonna's lifetime is already with her now, right? So what she's doing is a deliberate choice. Madonna's not a mess. It's not every single show she's yes, we will be out there on time tonight. Guys, tonight I'm going to be on time, and she just can't do it. No, she's clearly chooses to do this.
In terms of,
Well, I'm one thing at a time. Can we agree about that? That is a deliberate choice.
I want to know why this is the choice.
That's not the first question. The first question is, do we agree that it is clearly a deliberate? Nothing in Madonna's life at age 65 is an accident because she doesn't know how the system works.
My answer is yes to your question.
Okay. So given that, I think the only possible answer that tracks with everything else we know about Madonna is you want to see a show that starts on time? Go see fucking Six on Broadway. Maybe I hear the understudy's great. She's you're seeing fucking the queen of pop. You goddamn sit there and you amp yourself up and you wait and you know that my time is worth more. And I'm not saying this in a resentful way, but she's my time is worth more than all 20,000 of you combined. I will come out there when I decide the moment of it. I think she literally kills time because she's no, they have to wait for this. They don't the experience that I'm giving you of seeing me is not one that you just get to okay, here it is. It's no, you have to sit there and know that you're having an audience with the queen.
I completely agree with that. However, I do think it creates a worse audience. I think the crowd is worse because people become exhausted.
Okay, so maybe you're saying that her plan is wrong, and maybe you're right and maybe you're wrong, but you disagree with her strategy.
I think the strategy is off because
But I think that's got to be what her intention is.
Yes, but she's not living in the real world of having to wake up and, first of all, put kids to bed at an hour or...
You don't have kids.
But I can imagine what it's like.
No, this is one of those New York Times stories. It's let's talk to some Trump voters in a diner. Just...
She doesn't know what it's like to have to wake up.
First of all,
wake up and go to work.
We didn't have to do this. We chose to. And the thing is, how many times in a lifetime do you see Madonna? Not you, but people.
Maybe once or twice.
So that one time we saw Madonna, it was awful. I was so tired the next day. Yeah, and I was tired the day after my wedding. I was tired the day after I did acid. These are the
Ben didn't actually have a wedding. He's still single.
And I've never done acid.
Let's talk about the high highs and the low lows. Let's get into the review, constructive criticism, where we are with this. What did you think? I want to talk about the staging, the songs that she chose. We will go through the set list.
I've tried out different responses when people have texted me in the last 12 hours, how was the show? And the one I've settled on is not good. It's, how was the concert? She's no Liza. Scott Gorenstein will love that.
I've been telling people hit and miss. It was hit or miss.
But the thing about when I mean that she's no Liza, I also mean she's no Cher. And maybe more so than anyone that I've seen, she's really not giving. There's almost nothing in the performance that is generous. Her energy is not a gift to the audience. If you go see someone like Cher or whatever, Cher's She's like, we're all in this fucking room together, guys. And like, I'm fucking Cher. Are you with me? Like, I think Cher is working the audience in a way, you know?
Well, Madonna had extremely little audience interaction. But she spoke twice. She did 2 little speeches.
But she doesn't even look at the people. Madonna sings into like a void of light. There's hardly any performers I can think of.
Well, I'll tell you this. It was very different at Madame X.
Yeah.
I'm off of seeing the Madame X show 3 times where it was so intimate. She looked me dead in the eyes at one song.
Yeah.
And she was connecting with individuals. I felt more connected to her during Rebel Heart than this.
Yeah, even though I was sitting much further. I mean, here I could have reached out. If she reached out and I reached out, we could have held hands. She really felt very automaton to me at times. And like seeing her so close, I could really see that.
What did you think had the best staging performance? Like, what were the numbers that really stood out to you?
I loved the staging of Everybody, where there was like the lit up
Danceteria.
And there was the lit up New York skyline, and they were all dressed like the freaks of the 80s club scene, and she was in the middle of them. I thought that was fabulous. And I thought her performance of Everybody, or at least the general musical performance of her and the ensemble and everything, it just really felt like they created that moment.
100%.
It might have been my favorite version of Everybody I've ever heard, you know? And all those songs at the guitar, I thought I Love New York. She did really well.
By the way, I Love New York. First time that is not on the set list for the Celebration Tour.
Oh yeah, you told me that.
Typically, it's just Burning Up, and so she did. She's going to probably do I Love New York for all the New York shows. So that was a big surprise.
I thought she did that great, and I thought Burning Up was great. It might have been one of my favorite versions of Burning Up I've ever heard. I mean,
question for you about the opening. Nothing Really Matters with. We've been working with Nikki and Donna collectively. First of all, I love the costume on Nothing Really Matters.
Me too.
I love the costumes for the first act and a half, and then I think I actually hated all of the costuming after all of that.
I do not like the Amanda Lepore wig. I do not like seeing her butt implants.
I do not enjoy the Erica Jane. It was like poor man's Erica Jane, where Erica Jane is doing Madonna.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Nothing Really Matters. I thought that was an inspired choice to open the show.
Yeah.
Love the costuming.
Yeah.
Here's the question.
Yeah.
And I'm getting a lot of people asking me this. Do you think Nikki and Donna were paid for the use of their vocals, which are clearly coming over? And I spoke to them about this.
I don't know. I mean, I think what are the possibilities, right? The possibilities are, yes, they're getting paid, or they're not getting paid, but like when they were recorded, they were paid and the rights to use that was bought for them at like a fair, rate. Or they're not getting paid because Madonna was smart and got the rights to use that however she wanted without them really being paid well for it. And like, that's how it goes. My guess is like, she has the right to use that music either because they've already been paid or they're being paid either well, or at least they accepted it and signed. So it is what it is.
Did you notice that there was no band?
I was trying to figure out if there was like a band under the stage or something. It was all piped in.
There's no band. It's Stuart Price who produced Confessions. He is live mixing everything.
Oh, interesting.
And the exceptions were at various moments there was a cellist on stage. Of course, to me, the one of my favorite moments of the entire show is a grand piano raises and it's Mercy, her daughter. Ladies and gentlemen, my daughter, Mercy James. That really touched me. And she's playing piano to Bad Girl.
Yes. And I love that song. And I loved Madonna singing it. I didn't feel like Madonna really seemed connected to Mercy. I loved, what's the daughter's name that was doing the fabulous dancing?
Esther or the chick. Okay, so
one was the DJ and one was the dancer.
Yeah, the two twins, which I'm looking right now to see if they still have this account. So the twins were part of the show as well. Esther and Stella. They actually, during the Madame X tour, they had a part in that as well. I used to follow, they had a joint Instagram account. It's probably not being run by them, at Ciccone Twins.
They're adorable. The one that was a DJ was really cute, but the one that was a dancer was fierce.
During Vogue.
And I loved watching Madonna watching, honestly, the most alive I saw Madonna's face the entire time was when she was watching the twin dancing in Vogue. Madonna looked like completely just like so just joyful and proud and connected. And she also, the other moment where she seemed joyful was dancing in the Everybody sequence, where I was like, she really looks like she's having fun. I even said it to you. But most of the time she looked dead to me. By the way, who was the guest in Vogue?
It was her boyfriend.
Oh, I guessed that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was I'm like, give me Rosie.
Maybe there was supposed to be somebody and they pulled out last minute.
I don't know. I'm sure on Saturday it's going to be Andy Cohen. Maybe not. Who knows? Anderson Cooper has been pulled up on stage in the past. Like every big tour, she typically has a moment where a celebrity will come.
Yeah. I mean, I was sitting right there.
At first, I'm like, was it a contest winner? And then on the subway ride home, this guy on the train, we talked the whole way home. And he told me to Google Madonna Peru. And he's like, that's why there will never be a contest winner. He's like, it'll keep you up for days. So everybody can Google. There was some like lawsuit or whatever, the contest winner. Any other things that really stood out for you that you liked?
I loved Live to Tell. I mean, I just always love that song.
I thought this was one of the most inspired
but yeah, the banners
moments.
the banners of like the great artists and people that died of AIDS
and her friends.
Yeah, that's what the moment was so powerful, because it wasn't just like, and now we remember AIDS. It was like, no, and she said this, and I believed it. These were her people. She was a part of the moment, except she didn't die, and everything that they were about, and art and gay culture and New York and the 80s and the Reagan era, and she owns that. And I mean, and Basquiat and Keith Haring and all that. I mean, that's her fucking people. And it just feels so authentic and so earned. And she is the person it's like when Liza talks about Halston, and like Madonna's the one to do this. And it felt fitting, and it felt right in a show that's a retrospective, in a moment where if I had this great moment about Madonna's mortality and my mortality and the change of eras and generations and the millennium and whatever, certainly other people are having that too, and certainly Madonna with her health scare is having thoughts as well, turning 65, etc. And so it felt like the right moment, and it felt powerful, and it felt like the right song. I love that song being elevated, because it's from True Blue, so I think, that album is maybe kind of thought of as sort of like lightweight or something, but that song is fucking a heavy hitter.
What didn't work for you in terms of staging? Because like there were some things that just completely confused me. Bedtime Story, Ray of Light, and I thought they kind of fucked up Rain, to be honest. I thought the performance of Rain was great, but the screens are showing images from the Frozen video. Why?
I mean, it's a little hard to judge songs like Rain and like Crazy for You that she did like on the opposite side of the stage from us, just because like we were so privileged in the moments that were like stage right, so that the equivalent moments on stage left, we were like, yeah, that didn't work for me. But it's like, it might have been our favorite if we'd been on the opposite side.
I will say anybody who's thinking about figuring out where to buy tickets, she favors stage right where we were.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind. I would really be on the right side.
But so it's hard for me to judge those moments. I mean, it's the whole thing she does in these fucking concerts. And it's true in Madame X on the video. Oh, I didn't tell you all the videos I watched, but it's true in Madame X. It's true. It was true in Rebel Heart. It was fucking true last night. It's true on MDNA. And it's always her concerts. It's just her and a bunch of fucking dancers just sort of like in these sort of like traffic patterns, like dancing across this like enormous like arena shape. And I'm just kind of like, am I the only one? Like, because basically this is what Madonna does. And maybe this is what all concerts are, and I just don't get it because I'm used to seeing like Patti LuPone standing in front of an orchestra or like a piano. But like, they're basically like, let me take some of my songs and put them together into an evening, right? And then for each song, I'm going to come up with an abstract concept that could be silly and fashion, or it could be like dark and like my fears of the universe. But like, it's just this abstract concept that is then brought to life in a heavy-handed, high-budget way. And so I just have to watch all these fucking dancers who have now spent 3 months being like, okay, yeah, this song is about Afghanistan. And they're in these elaborate costumes that are either S&M or military or French Revolution or whatever. And they're out doing this choreography, and Madonna's walking across the stage and she's fucking 65 and she's hitting every pose, but it's a little bit she's just getting through it. And I'm just kind of why? This actually makes it less enjoyable.
You are preaching my thesis.
Yeah.
I record the episode that's going to come out after this is a culture debate that I recorded with some friends of ours.
In the great tradition of Nikki and Donna, I give you permission to use my voice in that episode.
This show proved my thesis that I just want her. I do not want another arena tour. I just want her in a theater. Let it be the King's Theater, whatever. Or BAM, like she did for Madame
But I guess
X.
she doesn't want to do that because she makes zillions of dollars in an arena tour, right?
I'm just talking about my thesis.
But why can't you do an
want.
arena tour where you don't have 17 dancers and concepts?
Just stand there, like Mariah? Just stand there and sing?
Yeah.
I guess she could, but it would be more special and intimate if she just did a
Well,
residency.
sure, I'd like her to come over to my apartment and do it. But what's the difference if she does that in an arena? That's what Barbra Streisand does in an arena.
Then let's fine. We'll put it up at an arena. We'll put it up at Madison Square Garden. Fine.
Unless I'm believing some technology that's smoke and mirrors, it seems to me that she can still sing all the songs. She'll actually sing them better when she doesn't have to be doing an athletic fucking 2-hour choreography.
Die Another Day. Why are we doing this?
I was so happy that because I went to pee during a weird there was a weird dance break or
you
something.
were peeing during the Beast Within remix.
Yeah, I was
and I'm this is your moment.
Yeah, and so then while I was in the bathroom, I heard Die Another Day starting, and I'm still good.
Why are we doing Die Another Day?
I have no idea. Honestly, do Beautiful Stranger if you're going to do one of those fucking songs.
What did you think of her pulling out Mother and Father?
Loved it. So great.
That is the deepest cut of anything in the entire
But I
set
just
list.
loved hearing that song, and I
Same.
loved hearing the way her voice sounded on it. That's definitely the song where I was this song requires a little bit more vocal work from her. And it's not that she sounded as good as on the album, but I could hear her voice singing the notes. And
even though I listen to that song with some regularity because I continue to listen to American Life, I forgot that the rap was so long.
But that song, my mother died when I was small. I cried and cried.
It's
and
my
cried
mother
and
died
cried.
when I was 5.
Whatever. But that song is a perfect example. She could have just been fucking center stage and have all the jumbotrons be a close up on her face. I mean, I guess I've already answered the question of why she doesn't do that because I'm saying that her face does nothing. But I kind of think that her face could do it. Well, maybe not. Maybe it's too zorked up, but I kind of believe that if she just spent, I don't know. I'd love to direct her.
That is what we need. The thing that has received the most criticism from everybody who has seen it in Europe is the Michael Jackson tribute, the Billie Jean Like a Virgin.
Okay, so
can we talk about?
Yes.
I want to go deep about this.
So I had vaguely been aware that there was a Billie Jean Like a Virgin mashup. Is that something she's done before?
Actually, she sings a mashup of Like a Virgin with Billie Jean during the Virgin tour. She sings both songs together on YouTube, and it's great.
Somehow I knew that was a thing, and I imagined that Madonna sang Billie Jean in a mashup with Like a Virgin.
No, I knew it was an interlude.
So I would have been very excited for that. That said, the songs do work well together. Who else, when Liza's my good friend, Whitney Houston, you're were you? But when Madonna's Michael, and there's 97 photos of them at different events and stuff, it's yeah, they, and probably nobody else in those crucial moments, those years of
Whereas
Madonna's
fame
life.
at the height of the fame.
But not only that, they knew each other, right? How many dinners did they have or whatever?
Not
right?
many, actually.
Okay, but say it's 2 dinners.
They went together to the Oscars. That's where most of those photos were taken.
Okay, give me a 10-minute limo ride, right? Madonna and Michael Jackson were both in a position in the universe that nobody else had ever been in before, and no one else on Earth was in that position except each other. That's an incredible connection. And, or at least through my Gen X centric perspective, it feels incredible. And so I liked that. And I did think it was a cool, like, shadow puppet, not shadow puppet. What do you call it? Like
hologram?
But no, because it was silhouette. It was black and white. It was like
whatever it was, whoever
so the hologram show or silhouette show or shadow puppet thing. It's an enormous white screen, and there's just, you know, in silhouette, there's like an iconic Michael Jackson image from the 80s with the hat and the, you know, the moonwalk pants and whatever, and an iconic Madonna, you know, very material girl look with like the
Carrie Bradshaw tutu.
Yeah, tutu, exactly. And
but they're moving and dancing. They're doing the whole thing.
They're choreographed together to the songs, and while she sings Material Girl in counterpoint to him singing,
she's singing Like a Virgin.
Like a Virgin to him in counterpoint to him singing Billie Jean. And by the way, the sound of Billie Jean and Like a Virgin go well together, and were desperately needed. When she did that weird choreography. This is so unlike me. But she sort of did a little bit of a dance. Oh, it was on the bed with she had these things where there were these younger versions of hers with like pantyhose over their face.
Yeah.
But like at different moments. So there was her, like, I forget what era it was. Was it Girly Show era or like
that was Blonde
Ambition? And she got on the bed like Blonde Ambition,
the red bed, infamous from.
And they writhed around to the sort of classical sounding intro to Papa Don't Preach, but then Papa Don't Preach didn't happen, which normally would be so. Like, I'd be like, I want to hear you sing. I really loved that moment. However, in that moment, I really felt like, oh, I really wanted to hear that, like, that electric guitar, electric bass is it, you know, of like, Papa, I know I've always your little girl, you know, whatever that, like, it's kind of got like a 80s rock sound that was missing. And then you get that 80s rock sound in Billie Jean and Like a Virgin. And I kind of wanted more of that through the whole thing. And then, so this was all cool, but it needed to build to the screen drops and then there's Madonna and she sings like, I don't know, some fucking Michael Jackson song, The Man in the Mirror or something, or like, you know, or, you know, even just something from Ray of Light. But like, I needed it to have like an emotional, but that's the thing that never went somewhere emotional.
Unlike everybody online, I'm going to come out and say I loved the Michael Jackson thing. The silhouette.
Do people hate it?
That people in general have been hating it the whole time. That's why Mark Snyder at the beginning goes, I'm going to come by and say hi during the Michael Jackson thing. I loved it. But now that you're like directing it even further, I agree that would have like really like.
But I really enjoyed it. I wanted it to go somewhere else. And because it felt like we were at it's late in the show, right?
That happens right before Bitch I'm Madonna and the whole thing ends.
So it's like the 11 o'clock number basically, right? And like,
or the 2 a.m. number.
But you know, it's the sort of penultimate like climax of the show, and she's not even there for it. So it's odd. And then the problem with the ending, if I'm jumping ahead, is like, I love Bitch on Madonna, and I thought it was like an enjoyable. If there's as much as I dislike the sort of Madonna and her like troupe of freaks like traipsing around the stage, that is the approach to like 80% of the songs in her concerts. My favorite version of that
is when there are other Madonnas.
And when she's at the head of it, and it's like, it's very circusy and less like Afghanistan-y or like French Revolution-y.
Yes.
And that song, it really like works that song was written for that in a way. So that was like real fun, but it was like, you were like, after this, the show's over. And I was like, you mean after this, there's the finale? And you're like, no, this is it.
Lights up.
And I'm like, whoa, this is like not. It felt like the show just like petered out. That
has been the complaint since opening night in London. I was watching a guy give a review of it, and he said it almost seemed like they ended the show short, or the entire ending just needs to be reworked.
It doesn't make any sense, because what comes before Billie Jean is Rain, which, like, take aside your complaints. Let's say it was the best version of Rain ever. Mm-hmm. And like the live track from the album of the Celebration Tour.
I wanted Rain coming down the way it did in that Britney Spears.
Let's say it did. Nonetheless, Rain is not a 11 o'clock number. Rain is like, as my grandfather would call a ballad in musicals, a cigarette song. I mean, you go outside and smoke during Rain. I mean, Rain is beautiful, but it's not exciting. You disagree? You think it's exciting?
I was disappointed with the way it was done last night.
Okay, but I'm saying even if you did it with like raindrops falling on my head, like it still is not the thing that comes before the finale.
You know what the guy said on the subway? So you know how like they've been having the different...
This guy in the subway, maybe you should do the pod with him.
No. We were talking about the special guest that comes out. Back to Vogue, the person that's sitting there, it was her fucking boyfriend. The guy was like, it should have been Britney Spears. And I was like, I almost like fell over. I'm like, that would have been truly like earth shattering.
You know what I liked about her boyfriend though, besides that he was hot? Well, first of all, I knew he was her boyfriend because he hugged Esther or Stella.
Oh.
Because, you know, she did her fierce dance. Madonna was like shepping nachis. And then Madonna hugged her. And then he hugged her. And I was like, the contest winner just like, you know, had a Me Too moment. And, but also, when like the boy dancer like had his like ass up on Madonna's boyfriend, he was very like, yeah, I wish I brought singles. Like he was not like, ew, that's gay. He was very like, yeah, sweet hole, bitch.
I was so relieved it was the dance, a version of Don't Cry For Me Argentina. This whole time I thought it was going to be like the slow version and I didn't want to sit through it.
I love Don't Cry For Me, the dance version. But I kind of felt like last night was a little bit like, it was like a half-ass version of it. Because it came out of what? Like La Isla Bonita was pretty like full throttle.
I felt like so many, the entire second half mostly felt they were like half songs or like half-assed.
But this is the problem with having all those fucking dancers. Because when you stand alone and sing on the stage, you are responsible for the beginning, middle, and end of the song. And even if you're not Liza Minnelli, anyone who gets on a stage and someone sticks a mic in their hand is aware that the song is born and dies in them. But the beginnings, middles, and ends of these songs are about like, oh, like the freak with the dinosaur head from Lion King coming off stage right, and like the girl with like the like cat o' nine tails swinging, like going up on the elevator. Like that's what the songs are built on, is like this shit that like, who cares? Like, I don't even like good dance. I don't go to like Alvin Ailey, but trust me, this isn't Alvin Ailey, you know? Maybe Madonna, if that's really what she wants to do, maybe she should do a show with like Alvin Ailey or like Mark Morris or like Merce Cunningham or something, where like she works with this brilliant choreographer who is, it's not like Madonna, not some choreographer that's willing to like be Madonna's bitch, but like a fucking brilliant choreographer, you know, Twyla Tharp, I don't know, who like has a concept and they work together to fashion a show of all Madonna songs, and they choreograph their best dancers in each of these songs and work Madonna in dancing and singing. You know, that would be more interesting than just like Madonna's like, I feel like this song is about hunger and this song is about like when girls are on top. Am I wrong? Is that like sexist? This song is about Gaza and also about Israel. Like, I mean, yeah, I loved how she sidestepped that issue.
2 quick moments of brilliance I would like to point out. You spit it out a second ago, but I want to give it a little bit more light.
Yeah.
The first half of the show actually has a storyline and it's telling sort of the autobiographical, like telling the narrative.
Yeah.
But then, of course, that all goes absolutely nowhere in the second half. But it makes sense up until all the controversy around the sex book. That's when she does Human Nature. And I loved how they erected the red bed from the Blonde Ambition tour, where she was famously under so much controversy for doing the masturbation scene during Like a Virgin in the Blonde Ambition tour. And so they have, like you said, a dancer that is dressed as her with like sort of plasticky something over their face as the younger Madonna. And it's like current old, you know, present day Madonna embracing the younger versions of herself. Those are moments where I would like grab your hand and be like, this is a moment.
But I feel like Madonna's telling us that story happens when she's like sitting in a meeting like with her, you know, assistants and stuff, being like, and then we're gonna have the red bed. But when she's actually there doing it, it's not like infused with all the tension of that moment and all her wisdom since then and how the world has changed and how it hasn't and how it slid backwards and like what it says for today. It's just like red bed, activate.
I wanted it to last longer. It was such a moment of brilliance that like it was there. If you blinked and you missed it, it would have been a crime.
Yeah.
And something else that I actually really loved, it was a thrill for me, no pun intended, you thrill me remix, but erotica done as a boxing show with the, like laser banded rings, which they put up. We saw them. We were right there. They were throwing on stage the actual pieces of equipment were going to emit these lasers, creating the illusion of boxing rings around the entire arena.
I thought those were real boxing rings.
They were lasers.
Hilarious. I had no idea. We were sitting like an inch from them. I thought it was an actual ring.
Yeah.
And I saw them put the things up, but I didn't pay attention.
Yeah, I was like, what's happening?
Yeah.
And for me, it was thrilling to hear erotica live because I never have.
Yeah.
I hear so much criticism about her wearing the knee brace. I don't give a shit. During Blonde Ambition, they're wearing knee pads. I love it.
Yeah, I don't know why she doesn't have it done as like part of the costume design. For every costume she has on, couldn't there be like, oh, in this one there's like a like French Revolution cover for the knee brace, and this one there's a fucking Afghanistan cover, you know? Like, why do we have to see that it says like Champion Sports or whatever?
Stop
you know?
It does not.
It kind of does.
Any final thoughts? I think we did it. I'm going to edit around the nonsense, and it's going to be...
No, the nonsense makes it. Don't cut a thing.
Any final thoughts? Bedtime Story... maybe I'm just a moron. I didn't get any of that.
I never have. You know, that whole album is like...
Bedtime Story is actually one of my favorite albums, but I love the track, but what was happening in the staging?
What did I like? Take a Bow is good.
No, I don't want to go through... I don't want to hear your favorite songs. I want to talk about... All I want to talk about...
But like, I didn't need her to sing Fever. It's like Luann's song.
You did say yesterday, oh, this is just a friend.
Just anytime some like bitch who can't sing is like, you know, like Romeo had Pocahontas. What a nasty love affair. You give me fever. Fever!
Did you understand what the fuck was happening when she did Bedtime Story inside that cube?
No, this is the Erica Jane thing, right?
This is part...
She was Erica Jane on top of the cube, and the cube's sides had weird holograms of like her or different people or Erica Jane or something.
I didn't get... Somebody was like, it was... My friend last night texted me, Bedtime Story and Ray of Light were showstoppers. And I'm like, please explain in detail why.
I think he meant because you were like, stop the show, I'm out.
For me, that and Ray of Light, you know how I feel. I have a polarizing opinion about it, but that was very Erica Jane. All right, I think we did it. And now I'm going to put in Ben's monologue soliloquy.
I mean, why don't you just cut it if you're shoving it at the end?
No. Pete, we want to hear it.
It seems like you're encouraging people to like tune out.
No. Tune in now.
You're like, here was the real episode. And because I wasted tape on this, you can hear this too. Anyone who listens to the end of this episode, you're really doing this? So anyone who listens to the end of this episode, I want them to DM me so I know they heard it. And if you don't DM me, I'll know you didn't listen to it.
Do you want them to DM a specific emoji, or do you want to DM just like a statement like, I heard your soliloquy?
In some way, make me know that they've heard it.
All right. That's the call to action. So now we're going to play everything we recorded before we talked about the concert. And just want to say, if you enjoy Ben, do listen to his podcast, Giants in the Sky, if you want to hear all about the making of Into the Woods. He's interviewing all of the cast and creatives behind Into the Woods. The podcast is called Giants in the Sky, and you can listen to Ben on Finding Fire Island, my docuseries. And so here is the rest of our conversation. Ben Rimalower, let's just start with your Madonna journey. I want to know which shows you have seen live, which ones you have seen on tape, and then where this...
Can we do this tomorrow, actually? All right, I'm in it. You're asking me that question, but you don't want the whole... What do you want?
Okay.
How much time do I have?
Okay. Give me the Rimalower special, but I don't need it to be like 45 minutes of prologue.
I only do 45 minutes. I don't have a tight 15. That's what's holding me back in this podcast and in life.
Take us through your Madonna renaissance that you went through this summer. As you called, when you were on Madonna Death Watch, you saw your own life before.
I gave you all my good material. I knew we shouldn't have talked about it that night.
Take us through.
Are we going back to the CBD and the beach and the massage, or just like what do you want?
No, skip all of that. Yeah, could you imagine you tell the whole fucking
I don't
massage
know what you want. I mean, so my dad left and I was in therapy. I saw her in 2015, the Rebel Heart tour. I fucking loved it, and I really liked that album. So I went to Rebel Heart and totally loved it. And then Madam X, I somehow just like didn't want to go. Nothing about it was making me want to see it. And like I was seeing her on talk shows, and I didn't even know those were implants in her ass. I thought that was
Until
like
last
padding.
night.
But I was
last
like,
night he's talking about the padding. I'm like, honey, there's no padding.
I did not like that. I didn't like the eye patch. I didn't like the grill. I just was kind of like, what? I don't want to see this. So I kind of had just sort of maybe thought like,
petering out.
yeah, like, I mean, it had waxed and waned over the course of her career, but I wouldn't have been surprised if it never came back. But then the day that I got a text from friends saying that she had been found unresponsive.
Cut to you this summer on Fire Island.
Yeah.
You get a text that rocks you to your core. You're at a very vulnerable moment. I'll let me speed this up because this is going to be another 45 minutes about your massage. You're on Fire Island and you're due to get a massage and you're sitting there waiting.
I'm really high on CBD and like can't function.
Ben is literally losing his mind. He winds up torturing a poor masseuse that he's going to write a play about called Three Massages.
Let's not spoiler alert my life. But no, this was before that though, because you got
the text while you were waiting to go in. Yeah.
And I was like, am I going to go in for this massage? And when I come out, Madonna's dead. Like, I mean, there aren't that many times in your life where you're like, I'm literally not looking at my phone no matter what. I was like, nothing could happen during this massage that I would be aware of unless like Fire Island was on fire, So I was like, am I going to come out of this massage and Madonna's going to be dead? And I just had this feeling of like, when like you're high and you're like, everything feels like, yes, you're seeing the future. Yes, everything is like, yes, of course, because it makes sense. This is how it happens.
And is this the thing that inspired you because suddenly this summer you started texting me.
I was like, the thought I had when I got the text about Madonna being found unresponsive was like, I do not have the bandwidth for Madonna to die right now. I just felt like I needed the summer to be chill. And I remember how I was when Michael Jackson died and when Whitney Houston died. And like, it's just very me.
Well, explain what happens when a pop star dies. You then become a student.
No, it's not it's not when a pop star dies. Like, I don't give a fuck about most people. But like Michael Jackson, Madonna, and Whitney Houston are all in the same club. I'd be hard pressed to think of a fourth person in that club.
Prince?
Not for me. I liked Prince and I had some of his records and like, but I didn't care when Prince died and like I didn't like.
Explain what happens to you when
I'm
a pop
very
star dies.
like nostalgic person. Like what I do is like tell stories, like the 45-minute version, right? Like my solo shows are like about my life. Like the way I had a psychic tell me that like I'm like a record keeper. Like your gift is that you remember the details and you tell the stories for everybody else so they know what happened even in their own lives, And I was like, yes, that's me. And I wasn't high, And
that is you.
No, it felt true, and I feel like that's always been true. I mean, like, I can tell people, like, what they were wearing the night we met, and I mean, I don't have, like, a complete, like, Mary Lou Henner memory, but I have, like, a very strong memory. And I just see my life in these sort of, like, narrative arcs of things, and, like, certain performers, like, really impact my life, and, like, honestly, like, Michael Jackson is not someone that I, like, ever, until he died, was, like, Michael Jackson's my thing. I think also when somebody dies, the story's over. And because for me, a story needs a beginning, a middle, and an end. Once a story has an end, then I'm like, oh, I want to go back and understand what the beginning and middle were,
Mm-hmm.
And it's even true with artists that I already am all in on. When Patti LuPone dies, God forbid, when Liza Minnelli dies, I've been following the story, and yet because there's now an end with a hard point, I'm going to now have a different perspective to look at what was the beginning and what was the middle, what was the arc, and how did it all like rise and fall, So when Michael Jackson died, and then again when Whitney died, and Whitney I'd really, because I got sober while Whitney was still alive, I was very fascinated by Whitney as an addict, and I really looked at her through that lens, the way I do with Liza, and I actually wrote a lot about, on an old blog I used to do, about both Whitney and Michael Jackson. But certainly when they died, I really just went through, it's not just that I listened to all the albums, but kind of like took myself like kind of like beat by beat through the whole arc of their life and career, at least like through the lens of like, what are the interesting threads about them that compel me? It's not like an intellectual decision where I'm like, I should do this. I just have this like, I'm bored by most things in the world. I'm a very weird attention span, but when something gets in my craw, I have a hunger for it. when they died, I had that. I mean, with Whitney, I specifically wrote a blog post that was like, I think this was Huffington Post days, but it was like, I'm on YouTube trying to figure out when Whitney was high and when she wasn't.
Yeah.
You know? But it was like literally that. I always have that with Liza too, where I'm like, I know she like went to Betty Ford in 84, and I know she went back to some kinds of rehab at sometimes, and sometimes was sober and sometimes wasn't. But I really want to know when, and you know, what were the ins and outs, and what was the difference, and when did she smoke crack, and when did she do coke, and when was she just drinking, or when was it just pills, and you know, when was she like a functional addict, and when was she lying about it, and when did everybody just know because she couldn't hide it, and when was she like, fuck it, this is who I am, you know, when was she really trying? And I'm just interested in all that. I'm interested in how they evolved as artists and how those things all come together, you know? So with Michael Jackson, it was not about sobriety. It was much more about like sexuality and you know, power and, you know, abuse and all that. But those take a lot of energy. I mean, I really was so focused on Michael Jackson for a period when he died, and then when she died.
So this is why you felt in Fire Island that you don't have
summer. I was like, I don't have it.
You don't have the bandwidth.
I can't deal with this right now. Like, so then when I got out of the massage, you know, a couple hours later, and I was like, okay, like, not dead yet. At first, I thought she was going to be dead when I got out of the massage. Then I was like, oh, God, is she going to, like, die sometime this next couple of weeks? And then it was like, oh, God, like, is the tour going to be canceled? Is she ever going to work again? You know, but the thing that I was grappling with in that moment, what I realized was that all those years that Madonna was just around, I never had to be the person coming into a conversation being like, oh my God, you guys, Madonna.
Because everyone was doing it.
Everybody
for you.
was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Chances were most people I would be around were more into Madonna than I was, you know? And then even when that was over, when I was like, I think American Life is really good. Still, everybody else was like, no, if I have to hear one more time, this metaphysics shit is dope. But they knew the rap too. They just hated it. And I was talking about Madonna because I was like in this moment in like July, you know, and August, being like, I just hope she doesn't die. And I definitely need to go to this tour if it's happening. And like, I wonder what it's going to be like. And like these kids, like they confused Madonna with Cher. They could hardly name any of her songs. I mean, some weren't. Some knew all their shit. Just like, you know, I know like Rosemary Clooney or something. But like, it's like that. It's like, they know Madonna the way I know Rosemary Clooney. They don't know Madonna the way, like, everybody knows Beyonce. You know, that was, like, really, it blew my mind. Because Madonna is a phenomenon that happened in real time on my watch. I kind of hadn't noticed during, like, the Madam X, like, hard candy years who was or wasn't into Madonna. Because it kind of just seemed like other people were more into her than I was. Mm-hmm. I mean, I have all these, like, young friends, so to speak, you know, and, like, you know, I'm going to Fire Island. I think I'm a little more in, like, generic, basic bitch gay culture now, whereas in 2015, I might have just been more in, like, the Broadway or, like, you know, C-list Broadway world, and BroadwayWorld.com. And also, like, I think, like, post-Trump, this sounds so weird, but, like, post-Trump, post-pandemic, I'm just more online and more... I'm just a little bit more plugged into the like universe than I was. So I don't know. So I'm just very aware now. And it felt that way last night. Going to the Madonna concert in many ways felt like going to a Barbra Streisand concert where it's like an arena tour and it's sold out. And like everybody who's there is like, she is the queen. Oh my God. But they're a minority in the world. I don't think it's the way it is when you go to a Taylor Swift concert. I think there's more of a sense at a Taylor Swift concert that you're like, you are the world, you know?
Yes.
And now you're kind of like, remember when we were the world?
Thank you so much for listening. I know the editing on this is a bit insane. Follow me, Jess XNYC. You can follow Ben Rimalower. Again, listen to Giants in the Sky, his podcast, where he interviews all of the cast and the creators of Into the Woods. Giants in the Sky is his podcast. And of course, he's also on Finding Fire Island.
Marketing is hard. But I'll tell you a little secret. It doesn't have to be. Let me point something out. You're listening to a podcast right now, and it's great. You love the host. You seek it out and download it. You listen to it while driving, working out, cooking, even going to the bathroom. Podcasts are a pretty close companion. And this is a podcast ad. Did I get your attention? You can reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Libsyn Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a pre-produced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience in their favorite podcasts with Libsyn Ads. Go to libsynads.com, that's Libsyn, ads.com today.